For example, I'm married to Stretch, and we say, oh, I bring Stretch as my husband, show the landlord, and then, he gives us a house, a 2-bed apartment. And then, only for the landlord to realize days later that I'm not married to Stretch. We're not a couple. Then I have like 10 other girls living in that same house with me. Is that a contractual breach? And how do you deal with that?
I wouldn't say it's a breach of the covenant. But if in the tenancy agreement, it was clearly stated there that the property is just for
Mr. and Mrs. Stretch,
to the exclusive use of them and no other person, then it goes to the root of that agreement. And based on that, the tenant, the landlord can
an agreement be that specific? For instance,
it can be if it's very crucial, if it's very, very pertinent to the landlord, it should be. That is why when I'm drafting tenancy agreement, I am very detailed. I am very detailed so that we are all clear from the beginning. So there are no gray areas. So if you are a landlord who values privacy, and it is very, very pertinent to you, I think it should form part of the agreement.
Does the landlord have the right to increase your rent by 100%?
Great question. In the first place, in the tenancy agreement, there has to be a provision that caters to that. How is it increased? But you can approach the court to determine if that price, that increment, is fair or not. But it will take your time. So, in that case, I think you should approach the Citizens Mediation Center. So they will call the landlord, they will call you, and they would, or in most cases, even before you approach the third parties, you can mediate with your landlord.
Most landlords will tell you, it's my property. That's what I want.
I can decide whatever I want.
Then you can approach
mediation.
Yes.
So do they have any powers?
Well,
it's just mediation.
It's
just mediation, but in most cases they achieve a lot of. It's Lagos State backed.
Okay.
So they do have. So whatever you are paying. So if you cannot resolve the issue, then they will tell you to go to court.
Okay.
But in most cases, the landlord will be losing because you'll be in court. And in that case, we can be in court for 2-3 years for the court to determine that issue. And within that space of time, you can't evict him.
And he has to pay you, but you have to pay.
Yes.
You have to pay your rent.
Your rent, the old rent.
Okay. Okay, not the one.
Because it's not been determined.
That the increase should take place.
Yes, if it's fair or not.
So when it is determined is when you start paying?
Yes. And in most cases, the court can now say pay the arrears. Prior to the tenancy agreement, tenancy law of 2011, it was a prerequisite that before the quit notice must terminate on the anniversary of the expiration of the rent. So take for instance, 31st of December is when your rent, when your when your rent expires. Your landlord must issue that if it's 6 months, if it's 3 months, and it must terminate. It must coincide with the 31st.
Okay. Oh, I see.
If he gives you that, it's invalid.
Oh.
But upon the advent of the tenancy law of 2011, the law now says so far they give you ample notice. So if it's 3 months, it can fall after a day after, it could fall 2 months after. So if your rent is supposed to terminate 31st of December and November, your landlord feels he wants to evict you, he has to give you if you agreed on 6 months or 3 months, he just gives you. So it doesn't have to terminate on the anniversary of the expiration of the rent again.
I see.